I work with the Desperado LGBTQ plus film festival as the programmer, and we're here to talk to Kevin, who is our LGBTQ art gallery featured presenter this year for 2025. So we're
Is
excited
it
to
just
have this.
me?
We're excited to have this conversation. And Tomi Johnston is PVCC Art History. You're the chair, right? Is that correct?
Well, I'm the department head.
The department head.
A department
Right,
of one.
right. So she's going to moderate the conversation with Kevin, and we're going to learn all about Kevin's art history and his plans for the art gallery this year. And Tomi, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to start by asking you, Kevin, what was your path to becoming an artist?
Well, I've always been an artist since I was a little kid. Performing, Michael Jackson at the top of the stairs, and being, very flamboyant, but also like I would, be on the beach in the Pacific Northwest where I grew up, and I would arrange seaweed and rocks into, uh, like imagery on the side of the beach, and create things that I thought were aesthetically pleasing, and the other side of it was like my mother would say I would like pick lint out of the carpet because it wasn't like wasn't supposed to be there, so I always like to order things and put things together and create, ever since I was a little kid. But fun story, when I got into college, I went to GCC for the first 2 years, and I took every art history course I could possibly take. So Nancy, I can't remember her last name right now, but I just knew her as Nancy. She was my art historian teacher, and I devoured it, right? So I loved my art history classes. I took like every mythology class, every drawing class I could possibly take, and I did that all at community college, which was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. But yeah, now I was a creative director for a magazine for 15 years, where I would sort of direct people and show the LGBT community through the magazine. And it was all like lifestyle and entertainment and fashion, sort of photography. And as a creative director, I would, put together storyboards, I would put together mood boards, I would do all of those things, but I never did the actual photography piece. Like I was never the photographer. And so in the end, even though it was my concept and my idea, and I had done all the, post-production and everything on it, it was that photographer's name on the pieces. And it's like, well, you know, I helped for sure. I really felt like they were a true collaboration, and I loved that. But when I started going back to school, when I took a job at ASU, I went back to school and I decided I wanted to get a fine arts degree, and I digital photography really resonated with me. I felt like it was something that it was sort of the last piece of the puzzle, really, because of all the creative direction I had done. And so I went from lifestyle and all of this like commercial photography into fine art. And I had a really good time actually creating things specifically to bring to Desperado Film Festival. And that has been inspirational to me because I'm like, oh man, I can use queer cinema. I can use all of these things, the celluloid closet, Billy's Hollywood Screen Kiss, like all of these fun inspirations that I grew up with. Like, I don't know, you all know, I'm sure there was a time when queer cinema was always sad, just always sad. Never, no great happy stories, no romantic comedies, no nothing.
Right.
And, over the course of like the early 2000s, we saw like, early, like late 1990s, early 2000s, we started seeing these hopeful LGBT films. And I kind of zeroed in on that for inspiration when we started to see that hopeful time and that excitement and that love, because I was like, oh, now we get to be happy instead of, watching Bent, you know?
Longtime companion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like, so that's sort of where I wanted to create something hopeful and beautiful, and that related to the festival. But also, like bring some of my other work that's like queer related. Like I have these still lifes of watermelons that are inspired by Frida Kahlo and her painting Viva la Vida. And she's just a fabulous queer icon. So I'm like, oh, I definitely need to bring that, right? Yeah, I need to bring that.
I think so.
So yeah, that's where I'm at today, and how I sort of came up.
Okay. I'm just, as an art historian, I'm super curious. Are there any particular artists that you have admired their work and maybe influenced you in one way or another
Absolutely.
on your artistic journey?
100%. So many. First off, David LaChapelle, who is a fabulous queer photographer and, has images of Amanda Lepore and Courtney Love and all of Britney Spears. And the way he would photograph these people was so bombastic and just completely over the top. Hello.
Hi, Marissa.
Hi.
So yeah, David LaChapelle, big time. He inspired me all through my career and all through my time. But then, artists like John Chervinsky, who did like still life images that, sort of trick your eye into thinking things are levitating, and Arno Minninken, who does these sculptural body piece photographs that are totally mind-bending. I love that. I like those artists have all inspired me so much. But David LaChapelle for sure, all through my career, and bringing that color and bringing that like maximalism is really what I look for. And but yeah, and I'm being inspired all the time, right? Like music, film, television, politics, unfortunately. But yeah, that definitely a lot of photographers, but fine artists as well. Like I mentioned Frida Kahlo earlier, and like Matisse and Van Gogh, and like anyone who used a lot of color, I was always drawn to. And I create artwork like that now. Even when I create something black and white, it's still bombastic in its qualities and it's still very maximalist, even though it's in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of ties into this year because Marissa, you're muted, Marissa. Can you unmute yourself?
I'm
There you go.
unmuted.
Marissa has got lots of color in her art as well. So I want to bring her in real quick and have her introduce herself. She's our second artist who's who's going to be in our gallery this year. So Marissa, yeah, just introduce yourself. And Tomi is our PVC art historian. She's the department chair for that group at PVCC, and so she's moderating. So introduce yourself, and she'll direct questions to both of you.
Hello there. I'm so happy to be here with you all and meet you. My name is Marisa Skelpsa-Munoz. My pronouns are she, they. I'm a painter, local here to Phoenix, born and raised here in the Valley. Outside of painting and kind of building up that part of my life right now, I'm a project manager at a local nonprofit, Free Arts of Arizona. So I project manage and direct our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives for this lovely organization that serves young people who have experienced the trauma of abuse, neglect, and homelessness through intentional art activities combined with mentoring experiences. So
So Marissa, I'll ask you the same question I asked Kevin. Can you describe just really briefly your road to becoming a self-identified artist?
I like the way you put that. It's always such a process to like claim that word, I think, at least in the beginning, right? I've been talking to people more recently about that, and I really say my immediate answer to that question is like, why do I start focusing on painting? Why do I want to be an artist? And it's because the little me always wanted to be that. And so if I get back to what feels important and what my youngest, purest self thought was beautiful and worthwhile, it's working with colorful wet media to create things that make people feel. Um, yeah.
Are there any particular artists, again, sort of following up on a question I asked Kevin, are there any particular artists that you have found particularly inspirational or influential to you in your artistic practice?
Yes. Have to echo. I'm a Chicana, so I have to requisite Frida Kahlo reference, right? She's so important to even early on in my life before I could even fully engage with the themes that she was exploring in her work. Just know that there's something so deeply human and beautiful in exploring pleasure and pain with that depth and that amount of honesty. Yeah, so she's important, she's integral to so much. Also, Matisse, the Fauves, the simple idea of being a wild beast, like just
We
makes my
should
heart
talk
sing.
more, Marisa.
Okay, yeah, let's do
We should
it.
talk more.
I would
We
love
could-
that.
Very
Phoenix
similar.
Fauves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
I
love
feel a
that.
connection here.
So yeah, the color is important. I think there's some wording I made in my bio that is like I use a color palette that cackles in the face of shame and repression. Like that's what color means to me, is wilderness and freedom. And recently I've been thinking a lot about Pasita Abad, the Filipino artist, and really the amazing work that she did in being integrated into the fine art world using things that were generally considered, less than, like more on the crafty side as far as quilting and using multimedia in her paintings and stuff, like a woman of color using these things that maybe are not normally seen in that part of the fine art world. And so that's super inspiring to me, the way that she uses color and a lack of there's this freedom in what she's doing, and her exploration and her politics being built into largely abstracted works is very, very inspirational to me, and her goal of, again, considering the power and the politics of color and including color in that way in work that gets to be seen.
Which artist was that again?
Pasita Abad, Pacita Abad, I believe.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's who I'd say.
Do you find yourselves putting, whether you're challenged or whether it's good or bad, do you find yourself putting more color in when you're feeling like the challenge is out there, or do you find it going more toward muted colors, blacks and whites, less vibrant? I mean, or is it just kind of the day, how you're feeling? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Do you throw a lot of color in there if you're
Does
hitting a lot of bumps in the road, or do you pull it back?
Well, I set things on fire and take
Yeah, I
pictures.
know.
But there's a lot of color, so
That's great.
there's a lot of color, especially with rage. Rage
Yeah.
is, very
He
colorful.
feels it, right?
Despair is very colorful. Sadness is very colorful.
Okay.
Like, it's I don't personally pull back on the color. I think the only time when I pull back on the color is when I feel a very specific sense of safety. So I think if anything, it might go away. Like less colorful tones might disappear for 4 years. Who knows? Like,
Yeah.
because to me, black and white is so meditative and so, serene. So I don't think muted tones necessarily reflect the environment that we're going to be going through, for me as an artist anyway.
Sure. What about you, Marissa? I mean, your art is so colorful and amazing, both of you guys. But I mean, do you pull it back, or is it just kind of everyday stuff? Whatever you're feeling at that point says this is the color I'm going to use, or
Yeah. I think so far I have never, intentionally, consensually made a black and white piece.
okay.
I may get there one day, we'll see. But I think, something that's been in the back of my brain since childhood, growing up in Phoenix and seeing different places where there's even just what I'm looking at, and someone decided that everything should be beige for some reason, feeling deeply offended by that. And like, but why?
Yeah.
But there's so many options. There's so many other feelings that we could be feeling through what we're looking at on a regular basis. There's so much creativity in color. And I don't want to put anything down. I think there's beauty in a lot of the ways that people use color in different ways. But for me, I'm like, I have this one life to live. Like, this is what I want to look at. So I'm gonna get weird with it.
In this conversation, I was reminded of the Cuban artist. Her name is Tanya Bruguera, where she mentioned that she's a Cuban artist, so she lives in a very repressive environment, and she's been arrested a bunch of times. But she said that one thing that she realized early on in her career is that artists can go places that other people can't. So I was thinking about that as both of you were talking, and
Yeah, I think all art makes me think about, I think I'm, reading a lot lately about from brilliant thinkers that are having this exact conversation, right? So like, years ago, Tony Cade Bambara has that famous quote, it's the artist's job to make the revolutionary irresistible, right? I was just a part of this. I'm through my work, I'm working with the National Art Strategies in this cohort of nonprofit professionals right now, and they introduced this resource to me called the Slow Factories, Callings and Roles for Collective Liberation. And so it's about finding all of the different spaces that we all have gifts in this journey, right? And one of those is artist, and how they define the artist's role in that work is inspiring people to be in touch with their humanity. And so I think I don't know that I can change anyone's mind about anything ever, right? But what I can do is remember my own humanity, remember someone else's. I work with the body a lot in my painting. That's something that's very important to me. And the body is so central to our humanity and to our feeling worthwhile. Trans people, fat people, people of color, their bodies are weaponized against them in so many different ways, so often simply based on our collective, ideas or misunderstandings of the concept of beauty. So what does it mean if everyone can be beautiful? If I paint you and how you look simply, and how your body is, like simply how it is, and that is beautiful, and I get to show you that, that lights me up, and that feels powerful to me. I've been reading a lot of Adrienne Marie Brown lately, also, and her concept of pleasure activism is, again, the similar idea of like, oppression doesn't actually feel good. It doesn't really feel good for anyone. It's that no one really benefits from it. Everyone is hurting in one way or another. And so, again, these concepts of beauty and love, and even if someone wanted to, say in a reductive way that art or visual art is simply fun to look at. Like you're having a feeling when you're looking at everything that I'm pouring into what I'm doing and the people that I'm working with to represent and show who they are. And that's touching you and your ability to love deeper in one way or another. So yeah.
I feel like art is central to sometimes the rallying cry, you know what I mean? Like it brings people together, and there wouldn't be a parade if there wasn't an ad for the parade. You know what I mean? We had to use art to get people to know that there is one, right? For Pride, all of those advertisements, they're art, and using that really can bring people together. And I think that's central to many things, but especially the LGBTQ community, and in modern times, because in the past, we've had to be so underneath and hidden. So, I'm very fascinated by, the way we've used visual cues in the past, whether it was like the hanky code, or there was a completely different language, or, different colors represented things. And you would know based around like that signaling, right? And so I think, and in a way, that's art, that secret visual language that, we, made under duress, made under, the times when we couldn't be out and proud. But now that I think we've made a lot of progress. I think it's up to us to keep pushing, because we're seeing right now this gigantic pushback, especially against our trans siblings. So so being visible, rallying around that, super important.
And one final thing that's also a very big personal interest of mine. You talk about the transition between being like sort of a commercial artist, right, versus a fine artist. Do you think that there is a distinction between the two? Because I know, just for an example, Andy Warhol always felt like the fine arts community looked down their nose at him because he got his start in commercial art.
100%. Yeah. 100%. And I love that story that you brought up about Andy Warhol, because that's absolutely it. Like, he's like this brilliant graphic designer. He can draw, he can do all of these things, but everybody's like, oh, you're a commercial artist. Oh, you're a graphic designer. Oh, boo. I've always held that up on a pedestal and said, and tried to bring as much fine art into that commercial space as I could. So, now that I'm sort of like moving the other way, the purpose is different, but the themes, the methods,
Skill set
remain the same,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, when I'm creating a piece that I want people to put in their homes and, look at for, pleasure, I'm probably not going to be putting, other people's faces in it necessarily. And so that's why I've used a lot of like symbolism that might represent people and might represent different kinds of folks. But more in the fine art world, I have moved away from sort of showing people doing their thing, which I'm not putting that down at all. I think that's fantastic, and I love doing it. But when I moved into that fine art space, I think that I wanted people to be able to step into that and put themselves into the artwork rather than seeing another person. So I think that's where, for me, where the difference was. Commercially, yeah, show people. You can, sorry about that. Show people having fun, show people being gay, show people owning pets, show families of all different types. And, and that's that commercial side. When you bring it into that fine art side for me, the same feeling and thoughts and ideas might be there, but without showing the actual family or without showing the actual person. So that's, to me, that's where the difference is for me.
Okay, yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense because obviously working in a commercial field, you can't be overly symbolic, right?
Yeah.
You have to make the message sort of very clear, right? So it's
And you get less than 2 seconds for, I mean, I don't even know what the new stat is. Like, I can't even imagine with Instagram, it's probably less than, less than point second, point whatever. But it used to be when you had to turn a page, it was you get 2 seconds to make an impact. But that's probably changed with the era of scrolling. But yeah, making an impact very quickly and putting an idea through that is going to motivate people to do something or inform something about them. Where I think that, that's the nice part about fine art is you get to sit with it. It's meant to be spent more time with rather than just I saw it for 2 seconds and it's done. Which, a lot of artists are in that space now and they get famous through Instagram and are putting that content out continuously. But yeah, I think that I'm I never thought I would be aspiring to the world of slow artwork.
Yeah.
Especially anybody who knows me, I'm like bouncing off the wall all the time, to be aspiring to more contemplative spaces and to more, like regulated and slow and still and, being able to study something rather than, have it flash by like an ad. So.
yeah,
I
well,
like that. I think it's kind of interesting because it just seems like as technology just gets faster and faster and faster, it's kind of nice to have artwork you can just kind of enjoy on a slower speed.
Relax into it,
Yeah.
right? And even if it's something that, suggests a crash and a burn, it still can be something that you can relax into.
Mhm.
It's there, you're sitting with it. And that's why I love printing my pieces, rather than just having them be digital, is because it, you know, strive for that analog,
Yeah.
strive for that stillness, so love it.
yeah.
Great.
Contemplation is the new radicalism.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow.
Well, I think we can wrap it up there. This has been a great conversation, Tomi and Kevin and Marisa. Unfortunately, she had to leave, but I really appreciate everybody being part of this conversation. And we are so excited, Desperado, to have these two fantastic artists be in our gallery. So please come by January 24th, 25th, and 26th. See the art. On the 25th, we should be having an artist meet the artist hour or two. So Kevin and Marissa will be there. So
I'm sure you'll see me for more than just the meet and greet.
I hope so.
I'd
Yeah,
love to get some
absolutely.
films too.
Right, right, right. Just a few films, right? That would be great to have you there. So, but again, thanks to Paradise Valley Community College for supporting us
Woo!
as always, 16 amazing years. And we just keep on rolling along and providing opportunities for the community and especially for the students at the college. So, all right, Tomi, you want to tell anybody about the art history program and how they can get involved in that or?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I offer classes in art history. I have the basic survey classes, which is 101 prehistoric through Gothic, and then 102 is Renaissance to Contemporary. I also have an art appreciation class, just called Introduction to Art, but it's really art appreciation. And then my specialized classes, I offer two specialized classes. In fall, it'll be Art of Asia. In spring, it is art of Africa, Americas, and Oceania. So
Fantastic. Cool. And Kevin, tell everybody where they can see more of you.
Well, you can go to my website, kevinbushaw.com, and it has lots of my photography and lots of things. You'll probably be able to see some of the prints that I'm going to be bringing to the festival. And then I'm going to be having another show I'll be able to announce at the festival. So we'll see you then.
Excellent. That's excellent. Well, congratulations on
Thank
all of
you.
that. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
all right,
And
thank you.
we'll talk soon.
Talk
Okay,
soon.
great.